The first microphone, which is a condenser microphone, records the snare drum's overall natural sound. This has a high sound pressure level, meaning it can handle loud frequencies without ruining the microphone. It's very crispy, so frequencies from 5K to 15K tend to stand out a bit, adding some more clarity to the overall sound of the drum. First, we'll take the microphone stand and adjust it so that it's low enough for the snare drum. Since this is a side-addressed microphone, we can get really up close and personal to the snare drum. We'll place it just outside the rim of the snare drum and point it at the center of the snare. The next microphone is a dynamic microphone placed alongside the condenser. Its purpose is to bring out the attack of the snare drum. First, we'll adjust the microphone stand so that it's the right height. Then we'll bring in the microphone and we'll place it alongside the condenser at the rim of the snare drum. Match the distance from the snare drum to the diaphragms of both microphones to keep polarity and phase in check. The next microphone we're going to place on the snare drum is a snare side microphone. This is going to be placed alongside of the snare's shell and capture the tonality of the shell. First, we'll bring in the microphone and turn it sideways, and we'll place it just outside of the shell of the snare. Since this room is very small, we may pick up more hi-hat than we'd like, but we'll take a look at that in the mixing process. The last microphone we're going to place on this drum is a snare bottom microphone. This is going to be pointed at the resonant side of the snare drum, where the snares sit. These metal snares are what give the snare drum its particular crack and sizzle, and we want to capture that by placing a microphone underneath it. Since this is a rock track, the toms will need to have a sharp attack and full body. You'll notice that with toms, as the capsule is tipped towards the drum, you'll retain more attack, but as it's tipped away, you'll retain more resonance. So we'll place this tom 3 to 5 finger lengths from the drum, and then angle it so that it's pointing at the center of the tom. After that, we're going to make a final adjustment to the microphone stand so that the microphone and tom are at the same angle. We use the same method on the lower tom. Place it 3 to 5 finger lengths away from the rim, but we're going to tip the capsule so that it's retaining more attack in the signal. During mixing, the attack of the low tom can get lost, so we want to retain more of that. We're going to use a ribbon microphone on the hi-hat. We'll place this so that it's facing downward at the hi-hat and then angled slightly away from it so that it rejects the rest of the drum kit. Since this is a ribbon mic, it's going to be highly aggressive. This will be useful for the different sections of the song where the hi-hat is very intricate and very busy. Typically, drummers use the ride microphone as an alternative to the hi-hat or cymbal microphones during their fills and playing. We're going to use a spot microphone on this cymbal to help bring out the clarity of the ride signal in the final mix. The ride cymbal has 3 different tonal areas: the bell, the crash, and the ride area. We want to place the microphone so that it's halfway between the ride area and the bell area. We're placing it underneath the drum to help reject much of the ambience from the other hits on the drum kit. We've placed these in a stereo pair right above the drum set. Drummer's right overlooks the low tom and the ride, and drummer's left overlooks the hi-hat, the crash, and the higher tom. Using a microphone cable, you can measure the distance from the center of the snare and adjust the height of the microphone stands so that the snare drum signal occurs at the same time in both overhead microphones. Since these overheads capture the entire kit, we want to make sure that they are as in phase as possible on the original recording. Recording a kick drum should have a couple different goals. The first being that you want to catch the initial thwack of the beater against the head. This would require a microphone that is placed inside of the drum. Let's take a look at what's going on inside of the kick drum. We have a piece of fabric on the bottom of the kick drum. This helps dampen the kick drum. Then we take this kick microphone and place it on top of the fabric aimed upward at the beater of the kick. This microphone has a frequency response that scoops most of the mid-range, which ultimately boosts the low and the high frequencies, making for a perfect initial kick-in microphone. Next, having a microphone that sits within the hole of the kick drum will capture the air that is getting pushed out of the drum and into the room. Since we're placing the microphone here, we're capturing the hit of the beater head reverberating within the drum. This microphone captures mostly mid-range, but since the kick drum is producing frequencies that are naturally lower in frequency, you're getting a nice mixture of mid-range and aggressive low-end frequencies. In the room of the drum set, we've placed a series of ribbon microphones along the side of the drum kit and some condenser mics above the kit, close to the ceiling. These are going to serve as our general ambience microphones. Capturing the way the drum set sounds in the room is what makes the drum set sound like a drum set. If you have a larger space, or if you have many different rooms surrounding your live room, experiment with the room microphones to see what you get.